So along with programming songs, we have what we call the generic sequence, which is kind of almost a template for, you can use it as a template for programming songs, or if you don't have the time to program a song, you use this generic sequence to just use it as a base for programming, and it's got default positions and intensity so that you don't have to worry about that. You essentially just set the colors. So for that, you go under the sequence tab. It's under G, and so here we have generic sequence, and we're gonna program it out to where, so the generic sequence, that's purple. So this one you don't want to edit. Essentially, if you want to use the generic sequence, you make a copy of it. So if you press the copy button, you can select the generic sequence, and then paste it. You just touch to paste it in wherever you want. So now it has this generic sequence. So if you're going to use this for an actual song, what you do is, change the name to, whatever song is going to be Yahweh. That's if you're going to use it for a song, and edit and program it. Now, and then once you do that, we also change it to red. So to change the name of things, if you press assign twice, you see the command changes to label. So let me clear that again. So this line right here is the command line, and it shows you what command you're actually inputting in. So if I press assign, it says assign, and if I press it twice, it changes to label. And then whatever I touch, it'll be renaming. If I press assign 3 times, it changes it to appearance. So now when I touch the sequence, I can actually change the color of it. So for this one, since we just copied it and we need to do some work on it, we're going to change that to red to signal that it's not ready yet. So we'll probably have these built out to where there's more preset colors. Essentially, these are just copies of the generic sequence that only have the color changed. So light cyan, cyan, medium red. This one, for now, let's just say magenta. So once we have that in there, let's assign this down into our songs. And then we'll go to the programming page, and we'll show you how it's done. So we'll edit that magenta cue. So first thing to make sure is select the cue that we know, or select the sequence that we know we're editing, or executor. And then we can go into the first cue to kind of see how it looks like. So the generic sequence, how it's built out, is at first it starts low on the floor, and the generic sequence also has longer 6-second fade times, just to kind of makes things smooth, since it can, it's a multi-purpose thing, so we don't really want it too fast if we need to use it for a slower song, so it just helps to do that. So the first cue starts down, and then the next one after that is down as well, and that's identical. The mark and down are the same exact cue. The next one is build, which the lights get a little bit brighter and they move a little bit higher. And then we have big, which is going all the way up and getting even brighter. And then we have end. So obviously songs aren't going to match that same flow, so you'll have to jump around in between. And we'll go into a little bit more detail later on about jumping around in between cues. But essentially for now, what you'll do is press so along with pressing the this button here to fire through each cue of the song, you have these 2 go buttons, which when you use these, it's important to make sure you have the right song selected, because if you have the wrong song selected, it's gonna go into that song. I know from past mistakes.
Yeah, me too.
So you press go plus, just moves down the list, and then go minus goes back up the list. So that's one way to go between them. But some effects and things in cues you may not want to hit again, because it may be abrupt, and you don't want to, say you're in the last cue and you need to go back up like 3 cues. You don't really want to go up multiple times and go through all those cues. So instead, you can press the go to button. So if I'm in this cue and I press go to, I can either touch the cue to go in, which first I'll show in the main, that's the programming view we were in. Now this is the main view that you're going to be in when operating, and we'll show kind of operating in another video. But we show that we have the cue list of the song we have selected, and it's important to know that it's only going to show the song you have selected. So if you're in the first song, going into the second one, it won't automatically select that, so you'll have to make sure that you select it here. So you can press the go to cue and touch which one you want to go to, and it's going to automatically jump, not jump where it's like a harsh jump, but it's going to go back into that cue and fade it. You can also press go to and then type in the cue number, so go to cue 5 and go into there. And that's when, in a previous video I mentioned, when we try to insert cues in between, you do cue 3.1. It kind of makes it a pain when you're trying to jump around and type in go to cue 3.1, because it just adds a lot more to type. So having everything just solid or whole numbers is going to make it easier. So that is kind of jumping around cues and what the generic sequence looks like, to where you have the down moment, the build, and the big. That's essentially all we have in there. So for instance, if we're just, this is going to be a basic flow, we're going to keep the programming how it is. We want to change the color, because by default the color is full, which is like all the colors kind of mixed in together. This one I named magenta, so we're going to make this magenta. So essentially we just select that, store magenta, and we're going to store that in Q1. And make sure it's only in Q1, because how the generic sequence in most songs are programmed, the color you only have to store in Q1, and then that trickles down, and the cue, all the cues below it inherit the color and programming of the cue before, unless there's something stored in to override it. Like for instance, this build, if I were to change the color to cyan 3, then obviously the color is going to be cyan. And if I go back up to the first cue now, we're in magenta, and then the build is going to be cyan. So it's slowly changing that color, and then everything after the build is now going to stay cyan. So I'm going to remove that color I just put in there. So to remove programming, if you want, and we'll go into this in more detail as well, but to remove programming, you can select the lights that you want to edit. So we'll just do all of these, or you can press that group. Let me go into detail of this as well. So this is so we showed in a previous video all the presets that we have here for programming a song. This section right here, when you select a light, it's going to highlight all of these boxes with the parameters that can be edited for that light. For instance, this light has dimmer, position, color, beam, focus, and control, or it doesn't have a go button. So what this view does is when I select dimmer, it'll show the value of that dimmer. And if I adjust it in here, it's going to, I can see it move down, move up and down. I can touch that value and, put in a specific number. It's 34.5. So I can get specific numbers if I want. And you could also do, well, that'll be a little, I won't go into that. But down here, do you see that there's 4 different sections down here? And let me go into the color, that'll be easier to see. So I'm gonna bring the intensity up first. So this also shows the color. You can edit, each value individually. So if we want red to be 100, and this goes off of a percent, so 0 to 100%. Now everything's all the way up. Bring that back down. You see that there's 4 values here. They align with these 4 little knobs here. So for instance, if I want to bring up the red, I could just turn that knob up and it brings the red up. Same, you could turn everything down, and then it'll adjust the color you want. You also have, next to those colors, you have these boxes that say normal, fine, and ultra. That is how much that these increase the value. Like I think by default, it looks like it does the normal, it increases it by 0.5%. Where if we change it to fine, it gets even finer, so it takes a lot more to bring it down. And if we go to ultra, then it's super fine. And anyway, that just can fine tune the details if you want to control it from there. So we're going to go back in and remove the color. That's what I was originally talking about. So removing a value that's programmed into here. What you want to do is select that. And so for instance, for color, these fixtures have 4 different values. They have red, green, blue, and white. We're going to need to remove all of them. So you select one and you press remove here. And nothing's going to change for now. So I'm just going to select these and press remove. You see, it's still cyan. It hasn't changed. But now if I store this in the queue that I had updated, which was Q3, now as soon as I store that, it clears it and goes into magenta. So now I don't have any cyan selected. And you can remove the same for dimmer. So you could select that, remove it, and that's how you would remove those values that are programmed into a specific queue. So for now we have this magenta flow. It's set to the color we want and we're good to go with it. We'll change the color or the appearance back to green so we know that it's good to go. So we'll select that, change it to green, and that's in. There are different shades of green. It's not important to match, but it'd be nice to keep everything color coded. And for instance, this first song we did, we'll go back. That one is done as well, so we'll make that green. And that is how you use the generic sequence.